Tall versus wide. It's the eternal question that decides how you're going to play your game of Stellaris and what your early and late strategy is going to be. But what exactly does each option mean and how do you go about using them? Well, let's dive into game and find out. We're going to start with wide since it's the simplest and it's the tactic that I would guess 90% of people use without even realizing it. When you're playing wide, you expand as much as possible to create an empire that spans the entire galaxy if you can manage it. You simply send off science ships to survey systems and chase them with construction ships, building star bases anywhere with good resources and colonizing any planets you come across. Everybody uses this by default since it gets you steady resources and gives your borders some nice padding. It's also possible to use this method effectively no matter which empire you go with, since it works just fine with no bonuses either way. The benefits of this method are it's easy to use, it offers steady increases of territory and resources, and it can be worked on right from the start without needing any extra resources or tech. There's not really much else to say about this one since it really is just the default playstyle for most people and you don't need to do anything specific to use it. Tall, on the other hand, couldn't be more different. Instead of expanding rapidly and taking over every single system you come across, you instead handpick a couple of systems in a cluster around your capital and stop expansion right there, instead funneling resources into other methods of expansion. Strangely enough, there is a big list of things to focus on when you're building Tall, since with wide you can just focus on expansion and worry about the rest later. Tall has to build up everything together to ensure they're prepared for the later game. First up is research, where you're going to try to unlock habitats as quickly as possible, no matter how much the research system fights against you. Since it's part of the Voidcraft tree, researching anything in that section will help you reach it as quickly as possible, but since research is semi-randomized in Stellaris, it can still take some time until you manage to find it. Aside from Russian habitats, you also want to focus hard on planetary techs, and this means literally anything that interacts with planets. If it gets you more research, resources, or anything else on a planet, grab it. You're not going to be taking over hundreds of systems, so resources from mining and research stations aren't all that valuable. Everything you have will come from planets, so getting them optimized early on is the way to go. Alongside tech, you can also pick up a few tradition trees to further prepare for full planet reliance. It sounds counterproductive, but discovery is a great choice to pick up first, and it's mainly for research and anomaly research speed. We're going to be grinding that research as fast as we can, as early as we can, so this will be a massive help in Russian habitats. Alongside this, anomalies are going to provide you with extra bonuses and resources in systems, which is essential for getting the most out of such a small area. You're also going to want prosperity, since it has loads of bonuses for planets, including reducing the cost of buildings and sectors, increasing job output, and much more. Adaptability is also good for making the most of your planets with building slot increases and upkeep reductions, but it can be grabbed later since its effects don't really come online for a while. As for the other choices into the later game, diplomacy is good as you'll want as many allies as possible in some federations, harmony for buffs to ascending planets, making them even better, genetics and synthetics make your pops even more powerful, and whatever else you want for your playstyle, whether that be subterfuge, warfare, or mercantilism. Being a merchant. For Ascension perks, Technological Ascendancy is great for burning for research a lot faster, Shared Destiny to make diplomacy easier, World Shaper for terraforming planets if you fancy getting them to the max, Arcology for making a Yucca Monopolis, Galactic Wonders and Master Builders are great for getting megastructures on the go such as ring worlds and orbital rings, and most importantly, we have Voidborn. This will make habitats far more powerful with habitability, building slots, and further upgrades through research. Grabbing this as soon as you can will be essential for scaling into the later game. Now, alongside all of this, you also want to focus on making as many friends as you can pretty quick, since being a small empire can make you an easy target for those growing wider a lot faster than you. Now, don't get me wrong, you can easily become more powerful than large empires once you have all your habitats being colonized. Your growth will skyrocket, as will most resources, and you'll be able to build armies and fleets as large as you want. But getting friends online first will be very useful for keeping yourself safe, as well as getting your eyes on as much of the galaxy as possible. Now, the disadvantages of building tall are pretty clear. It's something you have to go out of your way to do. It requires a lot more pre-planning and following a very specific playstyle to pull off. You have a lot less territory, so space-based resource production is very slow. But the advantages are just as impactful, if not more. The lack of expansion means your empire size doesn't grow as fast, so the cost of progression like research and unity is a lot lower, meaning faster research and traditions. Funneling resources into such a small area means that area is a lot more productivity dense than any other wide empire. Since you're not really spending it, you also have a surplus of influence you can then spend on all sorts of events and activities such as diplomacy to get ahead in other ways. And the main one is, once it's working, it is a lot easier to manage than a wide empire. You normally have a sector or two at most, so keeping on top of planets is a lot easier. Yeah, in the later game when you have a load of habitats it can get worse, but to start off with, you're not going to have a bunch of planets immediately. You also have less ways to get into your empire, so defending choke points is a lot easier. Generally, all the micromanagement that comes with having a massive empire in Stellaris that you normally offload onto automation, you can now take care of yourself, meaning you have full control and can make everything just the way you like it. But by far, the biggest advantage to playing tall is that it's different to how you normally play. Like every other campaign, you'll probably play wide, so who doesn't love some variety? Both of these playstyles can be just as strong as each other, so hop in and have fun with whichever takes your fancy. Like, subscribe, and if you need some help with the basics of Stellaris, then check out this video for my complete beginner's guide.